Samantha. So today I'm coming to you with my June book haul and wrap up. In the month of June I only read 4 books, which is not too bad considering the fact that I had 7 exams in June. So that really wasn't that bad, although I was definitely expecting to do more reading as soon as I finished school, but that didn't happen. But for whatever reason, didn't read that much at the end of June. So I only read 4 books in June, and I only bought / received 3 books. So I'm going to start off with the books that I bought. So the first book that I bought was The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I read Everything in May, and I really enjoyed it, and I'd heard that this book was even better. I saw that it was on sale on Amazon for $3.85, and I was like, in the cart you go. If you don't know what The Sun Is Also a Star is all about, I don't know where you've been, but basically this is about 2 characters called Natasha and Daniel. It all happens on one day, I think, and Natasha is about to be deported back to Jamaica because her family are living in the United States illegally. I don't really know what's happening with Daniel. He's got a bit of like family stuff going on because his brother is a bit of a dick apparently, and basically Natasha and Daniel meet. I have heard that it's very insta-lovey because like it all takes place in one day, so I've heard that it's kind of got a lot of insta-love, which is not a thing that I'm a huge fan of. We'll see. The next book that I got in the month of June was Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. Our Dark Duet is the sequel to This Savage Song. I really enjoyed This Savage Song, so much so that I actually have a spoiler-free review already up on my channel. This Savage Song is a book which is set in a world where monsters exist, and it follows these 2 characters, one called August and one called Kate. August is a monster, but he wants to be more of a human, and Kate is a human, but she wants to be more of a monster because Kate's father owns half of the city and he runs it and controls the monsters in that section. And then August starts attending the same school as Kate to kind of spy on her a little bit. They ended up forming a bit of a friendship due to certain circumstances which are not ideal, and all sorts of craziness ensues. It's wonderful. It's a YA book which doesn't include any romance, which is something I'm a huge fan of because I'm kind of sick of reading about romance. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a bit of romance, but when I read it, it just makes me feel so sad inside that I'm just all alone forever. I'm just kidding, like, it's no big deal. I'm used to it now. It's been 18 years. Anyway, I'm super excited to see how Our Dark Duet finishes up. The final book that I got in the month of June was one that I received, and I got this from my friend Yasmin, and that is Glass Houses by Rachel Kane. This is actually a little bit smaller than a normal sized book, which is a bit annoying, but basically I own books 1, 2, 3, and then 14 of this series, but I own book 1 in a different cover, and it's a mass market paperback, which I hate. So when my friend was getting rid of this, I was like, I'll take it off your hands. I'll take it for free, yes please. I'm pretty sure it's like a school for vampires, so it's gonna have like Vampire Academy feels, I think, to it. We'll see if I ever read this because I've owned the first book for nearly 3 years now and haven't touched it, so we'll see. I feel like this would be a fun book. Now on to the books that I've read in the month of June. So as I said, I read 4 books. I'd say it's more like 3 books and then 1 sort of like novella sort of thing. So the first book that I finished in the month of June was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This is dusty. It hasn't even been that long. This book is fucking huge. It's ginormous. A little bit too long in my opinion. Like, there was some stuff that definitely could have been cut out. If you don't know, this is the 3rd and final book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Don't know why you wouldn't know that. It's blown up everywhere. I can't really tell you what this book is about because it's the last book in a series. So if you don't know what A Court of Thorns and Roses is, I will link my spoiler-free review down below and you can find out there. Self-promo. This book was highly disappointing in my opinion. I only gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which yes is a very good rating, I know, but I was just like not that into it. I can't really talk about this book massively without spoiling everything, but I found this book to be disappointing. A lot of the time the characters just were having sex. What more do you expect? They're fae, apparently that's all they do. I did like learning more about the different courts and that sort of thing. I liked the war aspect, I thought it was really interesting, but everything wrapped up so conveniently. I'm gonna have to talk spoilers real quick. Mute if you don't want to be spoiled. I just felt like this book didn't have enough deaths. I know that makes me sound absolutely horrible, but I really felt like to make this book more impactful and to make me like it more, one of the inner circle had to die. It just didn't make sense that everyone made it out alive from this big war. It just made no sense. Somebody should have died. I mean, I know Reese died, but then he came back to life, and that bit was annoying too because like that happened the same way as it did in ACOTAR, which was just stupid. Like, why? Why? Why did it have to happen that way? I don't know. I just felt like that was a bit of a waste of time. What was the point in even killing him off if you were just gonna bring him back to life? I guess it redeemed Tamlin, which is another thing I don't agree with. Tamlin should have died. Death to Tamlin. That was my like slogan all throughout this book. As I said, still liked this book, not my fave though, so only gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So the next thing that I read was the sort of novella, and this was something that I requested from NetGalley a few years ago because I'm terrible at getting around to this apparently. And it was a self-help book, so I was really interested. Anyway, this book is called Fat Girl: How to Let Go of Your Weight and Get On with Your Life by Susan Boddicker. I think that was her name, who cares. Really, I thought this book was going to be about like how to get more confident and, you know, accept your body like the way it is, but It really wasn't. It was more about her struggle as a child, and then we get a little bit further on into the confidence section, and it turns out it's not really about accepting your body for how it is. Really, what she wanted to do was share her message on how to lose weight, and it was absolutely terrible. I only gave this book 1 out of 5 stars because there was a super harmful line in this book which I felt was terrible. This book was being marketed towards young adults, and it's absolutely terrible that this line was included in this book because some girls are going to take that and they're going to listen to it and they're going to start starving themselves because that's what she suggested. She said that the best way to lose weight is to just eat half of everything that's on your plate. No, absolutely not. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Maybe if you have a massive portion, maybe you don't want to eat all of it, that's fair enough. But you shouldn't start going in with the mentality that you should be eating half of everything that you eat, because it's ridiculous. And people will end up starving themselves, and I thought that was a horrible message to be sending out to young girls. The book was terrible. I gave it 1 star. I have a written review on Goodreads, so I'll link it down below if you want to hear all of my thoughts. The next book that I finished in June is one of my new favorite books of all time, and that book is called The Martian by Andy Weir. This book was so great. I'd heard wonderful things because a lot of people started reading it when it was being turned into a movie. I was not one of those people. I was like, yeah, I'll read it at some point. And I'd heard that it was absolutely hilarious. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pick it up at some point. I will. And then for some reason I heard someone talking about it again, and this time I was like, right, let's go to Audible, let's go get the audiobook, and I loved it. It was so funny. The narrator did such a good job of making it hilarious, and the sarcasm and just the way everything was done was just so wonderful. I actually didn't give this book a full 5 stars. I only gave it 4.75, which is pretty high, and that's only because I found some of the science terms to be like, stop. Like, I definitely understand it. It's a book set on Mars, like all these scientists, there's gonna be science terminology in a book set in space. But still, like, I was like, I don't know what any of this means. Like, I know hydrogen, I knew that, I knew oxygen. There was a lot of technical terminology, that is true, but I really think the audiobook made me, like, forget about that for the most part. This book was amazing. It's really funny. You wouldn't think it if for some reason you don't know. This book is about a guy called Mark Watney who is left on Mars by his crew. It takes 4 years for NASA to send up another crew, so he's trying to survive on Mars for 4 years, and so much stuff happens, and it's so great. I loved it so much. So the final book that I read was another one that I absolutely loved. I also rated this one 4.75 out of 5 stars, and that is History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. This book was so unbelievably good. I was actually really surprised because I started reading this book in February when it arrived at my house because I pre-ordered it. But then I really wasn't getting into it, so I decided to just put it down. And I actually restarted it on the day that I went to go meet Adam, so he signed it. I decided to start reading it then, and then I just got hooked and I loved it. I thought it was so good. It's really heartbreaking, definitely. If for some reason you don't know what this book is about a boy called Griffin whose ex-boyfriend Theo has just drowned. It's about him trying to deal with the grief, and he finds that the only person who kind of understands what he's going through is Theo's new boyfriend Jackson, and they sort of form a friendship, try and get over the death of Theo, which is obviously really hard. What I really loved about this book was that it was told in 2 sections. There was a history section and a today section, and the history section was all pretty funny, and then the today section was just like heartbreaking. I didn't cry because I'm heartless. I really liked it, and I liked all of the different characters. I have to say my favorite character was probably Wade. He was so cute and he just wanted the best for his friends. I really liked this book. I loved the fact that all the characters were like flawed. I would definitely recommend this book. And also it has LGBTQ characters and OCD in it, and both those aspects are own voices. Great book. It's just wonderful. So the last thing I have to do in this video is choose out of my TBR jar. But before I do that, little update on June's challenge. My June challenge was to read a book that was written by an author who's from a country that I've never visited before. I was planning on reading a book written by an Australian author, but I never actually got around to reading any of the books that I have written by Australian authors. My challenge for this month is to read a book with blue on the cover. So difficult. These were all the books that I bought and read in the month of June, and that is going to be all for today's video, so I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. I try to upload videos on Thursdays, so hopefully I'll see you next Thursday. Bye! Wrap up, I forgot to get the books that I need to haul.
So professional, so professional.
Oh gosh, there was something on top of that. Is that right? It is Rachel Kane. I got it right.